The skies over Earth were not the same anymore. For weeks, reports had been pouring in from around the globe. Ships of every size and shape, from space stations to military fleets, observed an unusual, slow-moving mass in the distance. It was a fleet unlike any seen before. The Draconian fleet had arrived. Their ships were enormous metallic giants that seemed to defy the laws of physics with their advanced technology. Thousands of them filled the sky, blocking out the sun in some places, casting a long shadow over entire continents. The Draconians were not just any alien race. They were feared and respected across the galaxy for their might, their strategy, and their ruthless ways. They had conquered countless planets, leaving behind nothing but the ashes of those who resisted. And now, Earth, a planet barely able to defend itself, had caught their attention. World leaders gathered in urgent meetings, scrambling to make sense of the situation. Humanity had never encountered such power. No one knew if the Draconians had come to negotiate peace, offer an alliance, or bring destruction. The rumors spread like wildfire. Governments prepared for the worst, fortifying their defenses and contacting allies in other galaxies for support. But the Draconians did not act as expected. They did not strike. They did not demand anything. Instead, they observed. From their ships high above Earth, the Draconians deployed drones, sensors, and advanced scanning equipment. The Earth's atmosphere, its history, its people, all of it was analyzed. For weeks, no one knew what they were searching for or why they were so quiet. It was as if the entire fleet had come not to invade, but to learn. The world stood still, caught between fear and uncertainty. In the quiet cities, the rich and powerful sat in their luxurious homes, watching the news in fear. The rest of the world, however, had different thoughts. Many people took to the streets, protesting the invasion, demanding action. What did these aliens want? Were they preparing to strike? Could humanity survive an attack from such a force? The Draconian leader, Admiral Zethar, broadcasted a message to Earth, though it was in a language no one could understand. His face, sharp and cold, stared out from millions of screens across the world. His message, although indecipherable, was clear. The Draconians were not here to speak. As the days passed, strange things began happening. Power outages hit random parts of the world. Cities that had been alive with activity suddenly fell silent, and whole regions experienced blackouts. At first, it was thought to be the result of natural disasters or technical failures. But as the days turned into weeks, it became clear that something far more sinister was happening. Some people started to disappear. Not just a few, but hundreds at a time. One moment they were there, walking down the streets or sitting at their desks, and the next moment, they were gone. No trace left behind. It wasn't just ordinary citizens either. Scientists, leaders, even military officers, all vanished without explanation. The world, already in chaos, became gripped with fear. Could this be the Draconians testing the planet? Or had they somehow made people vanish? Was there something about Earth's atmosphere, its energy, that was triggering these disappearances? No one had answers. Governments, in a desperate attempt to keep the peace, refused to speak to the public about the disappearances. They kept it quiet, hoping that the growing tension would subside. But that was impossible. As the days wore on, the evidence of an alien presence became impossible to ignore. Around the globe, reports of strange ships, smaller than the Draconian warships but just as mysterious, were seen in the skies. These ships didn't belong to the Draconians. They were sleek, fast-moving, and seemed to be evading all attempts at detection. The sightings fueled wild conspiracy theories. Some believed that these were other alien races, coming to help Earth in its time of need. Others feared that these were the ones responsible for the disappearances. But one thing was certain. Earth was no longer the same place it had been. And the Draconian fleet, with its strange silence and powerful presence, was only the beginning of a mystery that would shake the galaxy. For now, no one knew why the Draconians were there. No one knew if they would ever make their move. But the clock was ticking. People began to wonder, Was the Earth a target for the Draconians? Or had they simply come to study it? As more people vanished, the anxiety grew. The quiet nights were filled with whispers. The Earth was no longer just a lonely planet in the vast expanse of space. It had become the center of attention for beings far more advanced and far more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. As the first month passed with no word from the Draconians and no signs of movement from their fleet, questions mounted. Were they studying Earth, or was something worse about to happen? Would the Draconian fleet destroy humanity? Or was this a game of patience and observation? Whatever the reason, one thing became clear. The fate of the human race was now in the hands of the Draconians, and no one knew what would happen next. Let me know what you think. If you need changes or further details, I'd be happy to adjust it. It had been a month since the Draconian fleet arrived, and Earth was still in a state of uneasy silence. People waited for something, anything, to happen. Governments had fortified their borders, armed their military forces, and prepared for an invasion that never came. The Draconians, with their immense power, remained eerily still. Their ships continued to hover above the planet, sending drones and scanning technology to study Earth's resources. Yet no one understood their purpose. But then, without any warning, everything changed. It was a quiet morning when it happened. News agencies around the world reported strange sightings of flickering lights around the Draconian fleet. At first, it was dismissed as a malfunction, perhaps some sort of technical issue with their ships. But by noon, the situation grew more serious. The fleet began to disappear. One by one, Draconian ships faded from the sky, vanishing as though they had never been there. The massive warships that once filled the heavens with their intimidating presence were suddenly gone, as though they had evaporated into thin air. The once bustling spaceports, the dark shadows cast over Earth's cities, and the sense of constant danger all vanished along with the fleet. There was no explosion, no warning, no sign that anything had happened. Governments scrambled to make sense of it. Earth's military forces sent satellites and probes into space to search for any trace of the fleet, but they found nothing. The Draconians had completely disappeared, leaving behind only a few abandoned drones and a lingering sense of unease. The disappearance wasn't just a shock to Earth. News spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Alien species who had been tracking the Draconians' movements now sat in stunned silence. A fleet like the Draconians didn't just vanish, it was unthinkable. What could possibly have made them disappear? In a galaxy that had seen wars, conquests, and strange anomalies, this was something entirely new. A civilization as advanced as the Draconians didn't simply vanish without a trace. No one could explain it. Meanwhile, Earth was in chaos. Panic spread through the streets as people debated what had happened. Some believed that Earth had somehow been protected by a higher power. Others feared that the Draconians had fled for reasons unknown, perhaps returning with a larger fleet, or even worse, that their disappearance was a trap. The media was full of speculation, but there was little to go on. The world had been thrust into uncertainty. The global stock market fell. People stopped traveling. Governments issued warnings, telling citizens to remain calm and wait for further instructions. But, as the days went on, it became clear that the Draconians were not returning. No ships appeared in the sky. No signals were sent. They had vanished completely, leaving Earth to wonder if it had been caught in a cosmic game of fate. And yet, even in the absence of the Draconians, something remained. The strange occurrences that had begun just before the fleet's disappearance were only growing more intense. Entire cities went dark. Communication towers fell silent. No one could explain it. No one knew if it was related to the Draconians or if something else was at play. Dr. Alara Voss, a leading scientist and former astronaut, was one of the first to investigate these anomalies. She had been working with a team of researchers and scientists to decode the signals left behind by the Draconian fleet. The team believed that if they could understand the technology used by the Draconians, they might be able to understand the fleet's sudden disappearance. They theorized that Earth was a part of something far bigger than they had ever imagined. Perhaps the Draconians had been searching for something specific, something hidden on the planet before vanishing without a trace. The research facility, located deep in the Antarctic ice sheets, was chosen as the site for their investigation. Dr. Voss and her team set out, traveling to the remote region where the first signs of Draconian activity had been detected. There, beneath layers of ice and rock, they hoped to uncover clues about what had truly happened. The team worked tirelessly, drilling into the ice and studying the remains of an ancient structure buried beneath the surface. The structure was, unlike anything they had ever seen, a vast network of tunnels and rooms, adorned with symbols and writing that defied understanding. The markings on the walls appeared to be Draconian, but their meanings remained a mystery. Days turned into weeks as Dr. Voss and her team explored the facility. With each new discovery, they uncovered more questions than answers. What they did find was that the Draconians had known something about Earth. Their technology seemed to indicate that they had been studying the planet for centuries, possibly even longer. One night, while examining a piece of Draconian technology, Dr. Voss made a startling discovery. The data they had been analyzing revealed a startling possibility. There was an energy source beneath Earth's surface, something powerful and unique. The Draconians had been looking for it. But there was more. The data showed that the energy source was connected to the Draconians' disappearance. Whatever had caused them to vanish had something to do with this mysterious energy. The Draconians hadn't left Earth voluntarily. They had been forced to leave. Something, or someone, had removed them from the planet. But what had that force been? And why? Dr. Voss stared at the screen in front of her, her mind racing. What if the Draconians had known about this power all along? What if they had been guarding it from others? Or perhaps what if it was the reason they had arrived on Earth in the first place? It was clear now that Earth was at the center of something far greater than they had ever imagined. And with the Draconians gone, the question remained, who or what had the power to make them vanish? And what was Earth's true role in the galaxy? As Dr. Voss and her team continued their investigation, the answers they sought seemed just beyond their reach. The universe was full of mysteries, but Earth, it seemed, held one of the greatest secrets of all. And soon, the world would learn just how important that secret really was. Dr. Elara Voss and her team stood in the heart of the underground Draconian facility. The dim glow of their flashlights flickered against walls covered in strange symbols. They had uncovered this hidden site buried beneath Antarctica's frozen surface, but with every passing hour, they grew more convinced that this discovery was more than just an archaeological find. It was a warning. The technology they had uncovered was beyond anything Earth had ever seen. It was clear that the Draconians had been here long before their arrival in Earth's skies. But what exactly were they doing? Why was Earth, a small, unassuming planet, so important to them? "We've been here for weeks and we still haven't figured out what this place was really used for," Dr. Voss said, frustration creeping into her voice. She walked slowly through the large cavernous room, where strange machines sat dormant, their surfaces covered in alien dust. Some of them seemed to hum with an energy, though no one could explain it. Her team, a small group of highly trained scientists and military personnel, carefully examined the equipment. There was an urgent sense of purpose now, after the disappearance of the Draconian fleet. The stakes had risen, and the mysteries deepened. Every answer seemed to bring more questions, and the pressure to find those answers was growing. "Look at this," said Captain Mark Halden, one of the military officers assigned to the team. He pointed to a large console in the center of the room. Its interface glowed faintly, a soft green light pulsing in rhythmic patterns. The console was connected to a large metal pillar that seemed to serve as the heart of the entire facility. Dr. Voss approached it, her curiosity piqued. The symbols around the console resembled those found in other parts of the facility, but the patterns were different. They were more complex, almost like a coded language. Dr. Voss's eyes narrowed as she studied the symbols. She could feel something in the air, a strange sense of urgency that seemed to reverberate through the entire room. "I think it's some kind of communication system," she said quietly. "But I can't decipher it. It's like it's trying to tell us something." Captain Halden tapped a few buttons on the console. A series of strange, deep sounds echoed through the chamber like distant rumblings. The sounds seemed to intensify as he continued to interact with the console. Suddenly, the pulsing green light turned to red, and the room was filled with an eerie hum. The temperature dropped sharply, and Dr. Voss could see her breath fogging in front of her face. "What's happening?" one of the scientists asked, his voice filled with concern. "I don't know," Dr. Voss said. "This wasn't supposed to happen. We triggered something." The room seemed to tremble. A low, vibrating hum filled the air, as if the facility itself were awakening. Then, as quickly as it had begun, the sounds and vibrations stopped. The red light blinked out and the temperature returned to normal. The console's screen was now black, its once active symbols gone. "That was too close, Captain Halden," muttered. Dr. Voss took a deep breath and tried to steady her thoughts. "Something's definitely going on here. I don't know what it is yet, but this place is far more than just an outpost. The Draconians were searching for something they didn't want us to know about." As the team continued to examine the room, one of the scientists, Dr. Liam Reeves, called out from the far side of the chamber. "Over here. I think I found something." Dr. Voss quickly crossed the room to see what he had discovered. He was kneeling beside a large, cracked stone slab. It was covered with dust and dirt, but the surface glowed faintly as Dr. Reeves carefully brushed away the debris. "This looks like a map," Dr. Reeves said, pointing to the markings etched into the stone. The symbols were unmistakably Draconian, but the lines and shapes were new. They were different from the ones they had encountered before. This wasn't just a map of Earth. It was something else. "It's not just a map of Earth," Dr. Voss murmured as she studied it. This shows something more. A path. A series of coordinates leading to... What? The markings led to several points scattered across the planet, but one of the coordinates stood out. It pointed to a remote location, deep in the jungles of South America. The spot seemed unimportant, a place on Earth that no one would think twice about. But now it was clear that the Draconians had been drawn to it. They had been searching for something, and it was hidden beneath the surface of the Earth. "We need to investigate," Dr. Voss said decisively. "I don't care what it takes. We need to find out what's there." Captain Halden nodded. "We'll prepare an expedition team. It won't be easy, but if it's as important as we think, we'll need all the help we can get." The rest of the team agreed, and preparations began immediately. Dr. Voss couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of uncovering something far bigger than the Draconians' sudden disappearance. The map had led them here, to this mysterious location in South America, but what would they find? Days later, the team was on their way. The journey to the jungle was long and arduous, but the sense of urgency kept them moving forward. There were whispers among the team members, some of them nervous, others excited about what they might discover. They had no idea what was waiting for them, but they all felt it, an unspoken understanding that they were about to step into something that would change everything. As they arrived at the jungle, the dense foliage seemed to swallow them whole. The heat was oppressive and the air thick with humidity. The expedition team set up camp and began their search, using specialized equipment to scan the area. The ground seemed to hum with energy, a strange feeling that sent shivers down Dr. Voss's spine. And then, hours into their search, they found it. Buried beneath the jungle floor, hidden from sight, was an ancient structure, a massive underground cavern as old as the Earth itself. Its walls were lined with more Draconian symbols, and at the center there was a large stone platform. But what caught Dr. Voss's attention was the energy field that surrounded the platform, a force field unlike anything she had ever seen. It pulsed with a power that made her heart race. The Draconians had been here, and whatever was in this cavern was the key to their disappearance. The dense jungle seemed to hold its breath as Dr. Ilara Voss and her team made their way deeper into the cavern beneath the earth. The discovery had been like something out of a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. They had uncovered an ancient structure, hidden in plain sight beneath the thick vegetation of South America. What they had found was not just a remnant of Draconian civilization. It was something far older and far more dangerous. A force that had existed long before the Draconians had ever set foot on Earth. The underground chamber stretched for what felt like miles, its stone walls etched with the same strange symbols Dr. Voss had seen before. The air was thick with energy, and it seemed to hum with a power that resonated deep within the bones of those who stood within it. The ground itself felt different, as if it were charged with an unseen force. The team moved cautiously, their movements slow and deliberate. At the center of the chamber was the stone platform, surrounded by an energy field unlike anything they had ever encountered. The air around it crackled with an electric intensity, and as they approached, it was clear that something was protecting whatever lay within. The energy barrier shimmered, almost alive, reacting to their presence. "What is this?" Captain Mark Halden whispered, staring at the shimmering barrier with a mixture of awe and fear. "It's not like anything we've seen before. The Draconians must have known about it." Dr. Voss stepped forward, her mind racing. She had seen this before, the same energy signature that had surrounded the Draconian fleet when they had arrived on Earth. It was familiar, but it also felt wrong. Whatever this was, it had the power to erase entire fleets, to make them vanish from existence. And now, it was right here, beneath their feet. Whatever this is, the Draconians were trying to protect it, Dr. Voss said quietly. But I don't think they fully understood it. This is older than them. This power is ancient. The team worked quickly, setting up their equipment around the energy barrier to scan it for weaknesses. As they did, the barrier seemed to react, growing more intense as the scientists' tools came closer. The air grew heavier, and Dr. Voss could feel her heart race in her chest. "We need to find a way to lower this barrier," she said, glancing over at her team. "We can't leave without knowing what's inside." It was Captain Halden who first noticed something strange. As he inspected one of the symbols etched into the stone walls near the barrier, he saw it. A faint pulse, a hidden mechanism that seemed to respond to touch. He carefully traced the symbol, and to his surprise, the stone began to shift, revealing a hidden panel. "This could be it," he said, his voice filled with excitement. "There's something here." Dr. Voss moved quickly to join him, watching as he carefully manipulated the panel. With a soft click, the energy barrier flickered, and for a brief moment it faded. The team held their breath as the barrier disappeared completely, leaving the stone platform exposed. "What do we do now?" one of the scientists asked, his voice trembling slightly. "We go inside," Dr. Voss said firmly, her voice steady despite the growing uncertainty in her heart. "Whatever this is, it's the key to everything. We need to find out what's inside." The team stepped forward, entering the now accessible platform area. As they did, the atmosphere seemed to shift. The air felt charged with energy, and the sound of distant rumbling echoed through the chamber. The walls seemed to close in around them, the weight of history pressing down on their shoulders. At the center of the platform, there was a large crystal, glowing with an ethereal light. It was unlike any crystal they had seen before, its surface smooth and reflective like polished glass. The light it emitted was soft, yet powerful, and it cast eerie shadows across the chamber. "This must be it," Dr. Voss whispered, her voice filled with awe. "This is the source of the energy." Captain Halden stepped forward, carefully examining the crystal. "It's beautiful, but also terrifying. What is it? Where did it come from?" Dr. Voss knelt beside the crystal, feeling its energy pulsing through the air. She reached out tentatively, her fingers just inches away from its surface. She could feel it, the power it held, the ancient force that had drawn the Draconians here. But as her hand hovered above the crystal, something unexpected happened. The ground beneath them trembled, and the air grew thick with a dark energy. The crystal began to glow brighter, and the chamber seemed to hum with a low, menacing sound. Dr. Voss pulled her hand back, heart racing, as the light from the crystal intensified. "What's happening?" Captain Halden shouted, his voice strained with panic. Before Dr. Voss could respond, a voice echoed through the chamber, a deep, resonant tone that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was not the voice of a Draconian, nor any creature she had ever heard before. It was something ancient, something powerful. "Leave this place," the voice intoned, its words vibrating in the very air. "This is not for you. Leave before it consumes you." The team froze, fear gripping their hearts. The voice seemed to come from the crystal itself, its words resonating deep within their minds. Dr. Voss swallowed hard, her mind racing. What was this force? What had the Draconians been guarding? And why had they left so suddenly without warning after all their preparations? We have to get out of here," Dr. Voss said, her voice trembling. "This is no longer just about the Draconians. This is something far worse." The ground trembled once more and the crystal pulsed with a new, violent energy. The team turned and began to back away, moving as quickly as they could. But the walls of the cavern seemed to close in around them. The voice echoed again, louder this time, and the energy in the air became unbearable. "You cannot stop what is already in motion," the voice warned. "The galaxy is doomed. You have all been chosen." Suddenly, the crystal shattered, its energy flooding the chamber like a wave. Everything went dark. Dr. Alara Voss opened her eyes slowly. At first, everything was silent. The light was dim and her head ached as if something had pulled her mind in two. She sat up, trying to remember what had just happened. The crystal, the voice, the wave of energy. Around her, the rest of the team lay scattered across the chamber floor. Some were slowly getting up, groaning, confused. Others were still unconscious. The air was heavy, like something invisible was pressing down on them. "Ilara, are you okay?" Captain Halden asked, crawling over to her side. She nodded weakly. "I think so. What about the others?" "We lost power. Radios are dead. Some scanners are fried. But no one's hurt badly." Dr. Voss looked toward the center of the chamber. The crystal was gone. In its place was an empty pedestal, and above it, floating in the air, was a shimmering sphere of light. It pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. It was beautiful, but it was also watching. "What is that?" whispered Dr. Reeves, staring at it. "I think..." Ilara took a deep breath. "It's alive." The sphere suddenly brightened. Then it spoke, the same voice they had heard before. Deep, calm, ancient. "You are not the first," it said, "and you will not be the last." The team froze. No one dared to move. "Who are you?" Dr. Voss asked, finding her courage. "What did you do to the Draconians?" "They were warned," the voice answered. "Like many before them, they came seeking power they could not control. So they were removed." "Removed how?" asked Halden. "Where did they go?" "Elsewhere," the voice said. "A place where their hunger for domination could do no more harm." Dr. Voss felt her skin go cold. "You erased them." "I protected this world," the voice replied. "Earth is special, older than you think. It was seeded with balance, life, energy, and time. That balance was in danger." Ilara stepped closer. "Danger? From what?" The sphere of light dimmed for a moment. "From awakening." The team looked at each other, confused. The power beneath this planet is not just energy. It is the root of many things. Thought, memory, creation. What you call advanced technology was once born here. The Draconians tried to control it, but they were not worthy. Dr. Voss's heart pounded in her chest. "And us, humans, what are we to you?" There was a pause. Then the voice replied, softer now. "You are still deciding." A loud cracking sound echoed through the chamber. The walls trembled and part of the ceiling crumbled. Dust filled the air. "We need to leave," Captain Halden warned, but the voice continued. "This place will close again. The door is open only for a short time. You may ask one question. Choose wisely." Dr. Voss's mind raced. One question. One chance to understand everything. She stepped forward. "What is Earth's true purpose in the galaxy?" The sphere pulsed once. "Earth was not meant to be a battlefield. It was created as a cradle, a place where balance could be reborn. But balance requires choice. Peace and chaos, light and dark, all exist here. You are not protected. You are watched and tested. By who? Halden asked. By the ones who came before, those who built the first flame. Their time ended, but their creation remained. If Earth falls, so does the last hope of peace in the galaxy. Another tremor shook the ground. Rocks fell. The chamber began to collapse. Go, the voice said, echoing through the chamber. Take this knowledge, decide your path. The glowing sphere shot upward, disappearing into the ceiling like a flash of lightning. A moment later, the platform beneath them cracked open, revealing a tunnel. Lights flickered on, guiding the way out. Without another word, the team followed the path, running through narrow corridors as the ancient structure crumbled behind them. They emerged in the jungle just as the earth rumbled violently, the entrance ceiling shut forever. The sun was rising. They stood in silence, breathing heavily. Birds called in the trees above, and the jungle was peaceful, like nothing had happened. Doctor. Voss looked back toward the hidden site, now buried once again. It wasn't just about the Draconians, this was never about them. Captain Halden nodded. We were the real test. Back at their base, the team shared everything they had learned. Their recordings were damaged, and much of their equipment destroyed. But their memories were clear. The warning, the choice, the power hidden beneath Earth's surface. World leaders listened carefully. Some were afraid. Others doubted the story. But one fact could not be denied. The Draconian fleet was gone. Across the galaxy, news of the fleet's disappearance spread. Other alien races began sending quiet probes to Earth, trying to find out what had happened. None found answers. The energy signature from Earth confused even the most advanced civilizations. Humanity had become something more than just a young species. It had become a mystery, a question, a possible answer. And somewhere, deep in the Earth, the ancient force waited, watching because the real test had only just begun. It had been several months since the Draconian fleet's sudden disappearance. The world had changed. The truth about Earth's ancient role in the galaxy was slowly leaking into the public, though the governments worked hard to control the information. But no matter how hard they tried, the knowledge of Earth's mysterious power spread like wildfire. The people of Earth had always believed they were a small, insignificant part of the universe. But now, the galaxy was watching them. The Draconians were gone, and with their departure, the question remained. What did their sudden removal mean for the future of Earth and its place in the cosmos? Dr. Alara Voss sat in a large, quiet meeting room, surrounded by the leaders of the world's top nations. They were discussing their next steps. The world was still in chaos, with many regions torn apart by uncertainty and fear. There were those who wanted to learn from the Draconians' technology, and others who feared the very power that had erased them from existence. We can't ignore this any longer, Dr. Voss said, her voice steady. The knowledge we uncovered beneath the surface of Earth is beyond anything we can control, but we also cannot ignore its potential. If the Draconians were drawn here, and if they were removed because of something far greater, we need to understand it. We need to be prepared. The world leaders exchanged nervous glances. Some were eager to explore the power hidden beneath the Earth. Others wanted to seal it off completely. But the truth was clear. The ancient force within the planet was something they could not ignore, and it would be impossible to stop the growing interest from other alien civilizations. The galaxy is watching us, Captain Mark Halden said. We are no longer just a planet isolated in space. We are the key to something far bigger. Dr. Voss nodded. The ancient power beneath Earth has always been here. The Draconians and others before them knew of it. But now, humanity has a choice. We can either open our eyes to the future or let fear control us. If we want to survive, we must choose wisely. The room grew quiet as everyone absorbed her words. The weight of responsibility hung in the air. A sudden beep interrupted the silence. A communication officer entered the room holding a small tablet. Dr. Voss, Captain Halden, you need to see this. The officer handed them the tablet. The screen displayed a series of encrypted messages, all from different alien sources. As Dr. Voss read through them, she could feel the tension rise in the room. "Who are these from?" Halden asked. "They're from various alien civilizations," Dr. Voss replied, her eyes scanning the messages. "They want to know what happened to the Draconians. Some want to form alliances with Earth. Others want to claim the power beneath the planet for themselves." A sense of dread filled the room. "These civilizations are not coming to offer help," Dr. Voss said. "They want control, and they'll do whatever it takes to get it." The conversation quickly shifted to military strategy, space defenses, and diplomatic negotiations. But even as they made plans, Dr. Voss couldn't shake the feeling that they were being pulled into something much bigger than they could comprehend. The ancient force beneath Earth was not something that could be contained or controlled. It was a power that could shape the future of the entire galaxy. Months later, the tensions between Earth and the other alien civilizations had only grown. The first contact with another alien race, the Vorin, had been both promising and terrifying. They claimed to have knowledge of Earth's ancient power, and their leader, an imposing figure named Talcon, had offered an alliance. But Dr. Voss and the other leaders of Earth had refused. They could not trust anyone with the power beneath their feet. In the months that followed, more races arrived, each bringing their own demands. Some offered technology, some sought resources, while others simply wanted to study Earth's energy. The pressure was building. Earth was caught in the middle of a galactic chess game, and the stakes were higher than anyone could have imagined. Dr. Voss, now a key figure in humanity's future, worked tirelessly to find a solution. She knew that Earth could not survive alone. They needed allies, but they also needed to protect what made them unique. They had to secure the ancient force beneath the surface to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. It was during one of her late-night meetings with Captain Halden when they discovered something unexpected. Hidden deep within the ancient structures, there was a message, one that had been left by the first civilization that had come to Earth. It was a warning. The message spoke of a time when the power beneath Earth would awaken. It would not be the Draconians or any other civilization that would control it, but Earth itself. Humanity was meant to be the guardians, the protectors of this power. The message called for unity, a coming together of all the peoples of Earth, to defend the balance of the galaxy. Dr. Voss read the words aloud, her voice filled with a quiet determination. "We were chosen to be the caretakers of this power, but to do that we must first understand it. We cannot allow others to take it, and we cannot let fear stop us from learning the truth." Captain Halden stood beside her, his face grim. "Then, we have no choice. We have to protect Earth, not just from those who want to take it, but from ourselves. We need to be ready for what's coming." Dr. Voss nodded. The time had come for humanity to step into the unknown and claim its place in the galaxy. It was no longer just about surviving. It was about thriving, about embracing their role as the guardians of the most powerful secret in the universe. As the sun set over the horizon, Dr. Voss looked out the window of the command center. The stars twinkled brightly in the sky, distant and unreachable. But for the first time, Earth no longer felt small. The galaxy was watching, yes, but Earth was not helpless. Humanity had been given a gift, and now it was time to decide what to do with it. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Earth was no longer just a distant, forgotten planet. It was the heart of something much bigger, and humanity was ready to face it.